My name is Aditya Gaikwad. My subject is Business Research Methodology and topic is Hypothesis Testing. Step for hypothesis testing. Formulate H0 and H1. Select appropriate test. Choose level of significance. Calculate test statistics. Determine probability associated with test stat. Compare with level of significance. Determine critical value of test stat. Determine if TS falls into rejection region. Reject, do not reject. Draw marking insertion. Step 1. Formulate the hypothesis. A null hypothesis is a statement of the status quo, one of number difference or no effect. If the null hypothesis is not rejected, no changes will be made. An alternative hypothesis is one in which some difference or effect is expected. The null hypothesis refers to a specified value of population parameter, not a sample statistic. Example of hypothesis test. For the data in table 15.1, suppose we wanted to test the hypothesis that mean familiarity rating exists 4.0. The natural value 7 point scale. A significance level of 100 point is selected. The hypothesis may be formatted as one sample t test. The DF for the t stand is a n minus 1. In this case, n minus 1 is equal to 28. The probability of be 2.471 is less than 0.05. So the null hypothesis is rejected. Alternatively, the critical value for significance level of 0.05 is 1.7011. Since 1.7011, the null hypothesis is rejected. The familiarity level does exist 4.0. Note that if the population standard deviation was known to be 1.5 rather than estimates on the sample, a Z test will be appropriate. Step 2. Select an appropriate test. The test statistic measures how close the sample has come to the null hypothesis. The test statistics often follows well-known distribution. For example, normal t and chi-square. In our example, the J statistic, which follows the standard normal distribution, will be appropriate where standard deviation. Step 3. Choose level of significance. Type I error occurs if the null hypothesis is rejected when it is a fact true. The probability of type I error is also plotted level of significance. Type 2 error occurs if the null hypothesis is not rejected when it is the fact. First probability type, second error is denoted by unlike of which is specified by the researcher. The magnitude of depends on the actual value of the population parameter proportion. It is necessary to balance in two types of errors. Power of test. The power of test is the probability of rejecting the null hypothesis when it is false and should be rejected. Although B is uncon, it is related to A. And extremely the law value of, for example, 0.001 will result in incredibly high errors. Probability of Z with a one tail list. This is a standard area and this is an unshared area. Step 4. Collect data and calculate test statistics. The required data are collected and the value of the test statistics computed. In our example, 30 people were surveyed and 17 shopped on the internet. The value, the sample proportion is 17/30 is equal to 5/567. The value of is 0.089. The test statistics Z can be calculated as follows. Step 5. Determine probability value and critical value. Using standard normal table, table 2 of the statistic appendix, the area of the right of is 0.0301. The standard area between 0 and 1.88 is 0.4699. Therefore, the area of the right of 1.88 is 0.5 minus 0.4699 is equal to 0.0301. The p value is 0.301. Alternatively, the critical value of Z called ZA, which will give an area to the right side of critical value of A is equal to 0.05, is between 1.64 and 1.65. The ZA is equal to 1.645. Note that determining the critical value of the test statistic, the area to right of the critical value is either A or A2. It is for a one-tail test and A2 for a two-tail test. Steps 6 and 7. Compare probability and make the decision. In the probability associated with the calculated value, the test statistics is less than the level of significance. The null hypothesis is rejected. In our case, the p-value is 0.0301. Thus is less than the level of significance of a 0.05. Hence, the null hypothesis is rejected. Alternatively, if the calculated value of the test statistics is greater than critical value of the test statistics, the null hypothesis is rejected. The calculated value of the test statistic 1.88 is in the rejection region behind the value of Z 1.645. Again, the sum conclusion to reject the null hypothesis is reached. Note that the two ways of testing the null hypothesis are equivalent but mathematically opposite in the direction of comparison. Writing test statistics at this. Market research conclusion. The conclusion reached by hypothesis testing must be expressed in terms of the marketing research problem. In our example, we calculate that there is evidence that the proportion of internet users who shop via the internet is significantly greater than 0.40. Hence, the department store should introduce a new internet shopping service. Broad classification of hypothesis test. Hypothesis test of association, test of differences. Under the test of association, means and proportion, and under the test of differences, means and proportion. Hypothesis testing for differences. Hypothesis test, parametric test matrix, one sample, T test, Z test, two or more samples, independent samples, two group at T test, Z test, pair T test, and non-parametric test. Two independent samples means in the case of means of for two independent samples, the hypothesis take the following form. The two populations are sample and the means and variations computed based on the samples of sizes n1 and n2. The idea behind the test is similar to the test for a single mean through the formula for standard error is different. Suppose we want to determine if internet usage is different for males than females using data in table 15. Two independent sample tests, summary statistics. Summary of hypothesis test for differences. Thank you.